debunked the Democrats' theories of obstruction and collusion. Joining us now, Democratic Senator Chris Coons, who serves on that chamber's Judiciary and Foreign Relations committees. Senator, I know you were busy with other things yesterday, but give us your takeaway from Robert Mueller's testimony. Does it advance the case against the president, in your view?
Well, what I think was most important about Special Counsel Mueller repeating the details of his report yesterday was his emphasis on how Russia strongly attempted to interfered in our 2016 election, our 2018 election, in response to a question from Republican Congressman Hurd of Texas, said they are continuing to do it even today. Here in the Senate, we had a hearing on the Judiciary Committee earlier this week where Chris Wray, the FBI director, President Trump's personally chosen FBI director, repeated that same message, that we need to be working on securing our 2020 elections. Tomorrow, I'll be at the Delaware State Fair, where I'll get to see our new election machinery in Delaware. We were one of 5 states that had no paper trail to audit the outcomes of our elections. We've just purchased new election machinery with the grant funding that was made available 2 years ago to states. I think that is something we should be working on, and I think that was one important takeaway from the Mueller investigation, was the depth and breadth of Russian interference in our 2016 election.
Guy Lewis, a former federal prosecutor, was just on with us. He said that in his view, the special counsel or special prosecutor law doesn't work. He called it a mix of prosecution and politics that just doesn't work. What do you think about that?
Well, as you know, I had a bipartisan bill in the last Congress and in this Congress that would strengthen the special counsel, make it harder for him to be abruptly fired for no reason. There are regulations in the Department of Justice today that prevent that, but I think it should be in statute. I do think an important part of Mueller's testimony was that he detailed a number of ways in which the president and his senior team attempted to interfere with the investigation. You just played a clip of him calling it a hoax and a witch hunt. I don't believe it was a hoax or a witch hunt. I think it was an important and appropriate investigation, and I think the fact that Special Counsel Mueller was able to complete his investigation is something we all should be proud of. There's other countries around the world where presidents are above the law, aren't challenged, aren't questioned. I think it's important that Special Counsel Mueller was able to finish his investigation.
But the White House would make the point that he was able to finish the investigation with the essential cooperation of the White House, that they didn't block anything that he wanted, that he asked for.
I agree, and I think that's important.
All right. There are some other things we want to talk about. You're on the Senate Relations Committee. Iran is a boiling hot issue right now.
It is.
And you were talking about that while most of the nation's attention was riveted on the Mueller investigation and his testimony.
Yes, thank you. Yesterday, we had the acting legal advisor from the State Department and one of the senior members of the State Department testify in front of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee about what's the legal authority on which the president might rely if he chose to begin a war with Iran. I think it's clear that if Iran attacks American troops, kills American troops in the region, the president has the authority under the Constitution to defend our armed forces in his role as commander-in-chief. But what we were debating was the 2001 authorization for the use of military force. Not one of the currently serving senators on our committee voted for that authorization in the Senate. A few did in the House. But you know, there are, I think, 80 of us now serving in the Senate who were not here and did not vote for the 01 AUMF because, frankly, it was 19 years ago. What we are trying to do is to come up with a modernized, relevant, current authorization for force. And I think it was a vigorous and important discussion about what kinds of authorities the president and the executive branch needs to detain folks here or overseas, and what sort of authority there needs to be for our ongoing conflicts in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria, and elsewhere, and then what limits there are. I don't believe the 01 AUMF authorizes the president to start a war with Iran, and I think it's important that we have that discussion.
We've already seen Iran shoot down a $40 million American drone. What if they were to seize an American tanker, as they did with the British?
I think that would be another important step by Iran to demonstrate their aggression. I think Iran is a dangerous state that is a sponsor of terrorism, that is a destabilizing force in the region. The question is, at what point should we take either diplomatic action or military action against Iran. I think it's important that there be lines of communication open between us and the Iranians so that some rogue element of the IRGC doesn't draw us into a hot war that we're not fully prepared for. And frankly, we've been asking for the administration to send someone to brief us on the strategy that they're intending to follow in the event there's an escalation like the one you referenced, the seizure of an American flag tanker.
Senator Chris Coons, a Democrat who serves on the Judiciary and Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, thank you.
Thank you, John.